Well, hello there, ladies, gentlemen, and children. I'm in technical difficulties this evening. Welcome to Talk to the Doctor. My name's Eddie. I was actually talking for about 5 minutes there when I realised I hadn't pressed the go live button. So apologies in advance for being slightly late this evening. I wasn't late. I was here. Where were you? This is the room. Come on, let's keep news all. Anyway, welcome this evening. Tonight's topic is whether Doctor Who is too woke or not. Is woke a joke? That's the question you've got to ask yourself. Is Doctor Who too woke? And a lot of people will immediately say, yes, I'm guilty of it myself. I've called that a lot of woke nonsense. And I've been guilty of it myself, but I thought it was maybe brilliant to look at what woke means, where it came from, the origins of it, how it is used nowadays, and exactly what's going on with that word. So that if that's the case, if Doctor Who is woke, then we can come to that conclusion together that Doctor Who is woke. I'm not sure it is. So woke, there you go. That's what woke means. Apart from it being the past of wake, I woke. It also means to be alert to the injustice of society, especially racism. To stay angry, to stay woke, as in, I think it comes from a contraction of the word awakening or awoke. So that's where it's come from. So is Doctor Who that? You could argue it is. Is that a bad thing? Is another question. Is it a bad thing? Of course it's not. However, there is another definition of the word woke, and it's this: pretentious about how you care about social issues. That comes from the Urban Dictionary. So both of those are valid. Both of those could maybe, be something to do with Doctor Who. But my issue with Doctor Who isn't the wokeness of it anymore. I used the word unwoke the other day, and a very passive-aggressive person who will remain unnamed because we don't give trolls oxygen, as you well know, said that the word unwoke was made up. You're fucking making up words now. What is wrong with you? I was said, it's one who is not socially or politically aware. And I suggested that maybe Doctor Who was unwoke. Why did I say Doctor Who's unwoke? What would be my reasons for saying that? Well, the reason being is that as a storyteller, as a writer, it's important to tell the story over the agenda. Now, unfortunately, I can't find the quote. Someone sent me the other day, so if it was you, I'm sorry, I can't find it. And if I do find it, or if you can tell me again, I will put it up in the next blog. But it basically said it was talking about Terence Dicks, and Terence said it was very difficult to write an agenda first. Right, so one of the arguments you'll always get is that Doctor Who's always been into political things. Doctor Who's always talked about it, and that's true. I mean, if you look way back, even back to Hartnell's era, there were, in Galaxy 4 or something like that, you had a female society, and, obviously, famously, the Peladon stories. One's about the miners' strike, one's about, Britain's entry into the common market. If you look at the Sunmakers, it's all about the taxmen. You can go on and on and on about when Doctor Who, the Happiness Patrol is clearly about Thatcher's Britain. You can do that all day long, and you can discuss that and say, is Doctor Who, reflecting society, and it does do that, and it's always done that. So when people then go, well, what the fuck is wrong with Rosa then, or Demons in the Punjab, why are these not, why are these suddenly people crying out about these? The reason being is that if you look at those other ones, if you think about, let's use the Peladon stories, right? They were set on a planet called Peladon, and they used an allegory or metaphors, to reflect real life. The Sunmakers did the same thing. And, you could go on and on. The Happiness Patrol is, it's clear what it is, but, it's not basically just set in Thatcher's Britain. And at the end, the Doctor turns to the camera and says, yes, Margaret Thatcher, what a cow. That's not what happens. But that's what's happening now. And I think that's where people are getting a bit annoyed. It's not the message, it's the way the message is put forward. That would be my argument, that the message is worthy, that it's important, that it's impossible not to reflect society in art without talking about these things today. And those are important things to talk about, particularly racism. But what really irks me about Rosa, and by the way, I criticised Rosa that day, and a white woman, I think she was a woman, attacked me for being an old white man because I dared criticise Rosa because it was written by a black woman. Now, I just went, you know what, no more oxygen for you, you silly, silly woman. And the reason being is because I wasn't criticising the message behind Rosa. I wasn't criticising the content of Rosa. I was criticising how badly it was done. It's historically inaccurate for a start. It's really, really badly produced. I mean, I talked before, there's a scene where the TARDIS it lands in that alleyway, and you can see that it's propped up. Clearly the alleyway wasn't level, so they propped the TARDIS up. There's wedges underneath it. You can see them. And that's terrible. You know, and they threw about words like Time Lords and Artron Energy for absolutely no other reason than to say, oh, we're talking about Artron Energy and Time Lords. The baddie, can anyone remember his name off the top of their head? Because you need to Google it, because I do. And I can name every Doctor Who episode from 1963 to 2010, 2015 probably, you know, without a breath half the time. You know, but I need to Google this motherfucker. You know, and that's why it's bad. It's terrible. I mean, historical inaccuracies are scary. It verges on, you know, modern white women telling black women what to do. It has, you know, it mansplains half the way through it as well. It's just embarrassing. And then they went with that horrible music, you know, and nothing works in Rosa. And that's why when the BBC thought they would put it up for awards, it won the some amount of fuck all. It won nothing because it wasn't good. No one else liked it. No one will say they don't like it because it's about Rosa Parks. You know, in Rosa Parks, everyone should, and, you know, I won't entertain anyone who doesn't think that she's a remarkable woman and done remarkable things. And she did do those things. But the episode that's based on her is exploitation. And it's done extraordinarily badly. So let's look at one of the other words that people discuss when they talk about Doctor Who, and they talk about social justice. Social justice. Social justice is a term of the distribution of wealth, opportunities and privileges within society. Dead straightforward. When I was in a band in the 80s, we wrote a song with the lyrics, you scream for social justice, but let the fat man take his reward. And nothing's changed. You know, we should all, as liberal and left-minded people, and I'm assuming most people are, because who the fuck is supporting Boris? That balloon, or Trump? Jesus Christ, he's still insane. Even if you did think, even if you did the real pull over the eyes, then surely now you realised you're duped. Anyway, you know, most people would want social justice, I'm assuming. Most people wouldn't like to see poor people or sick people or minorities, you know, be treated any differently from you or I, surely. Tell me if I'm wrong, you know, tell me if that's what you do want, if you do think that's a good thing, because you're wrong and you're a sociopath. Simple as that. So social justice is absolutely fine, and, you know, you should be pointing out, you know, things that aren't socially just, and you should be making a fuss about those things. But that doesn't make you a social justice warrior, because those are something else entirely. Social justice warriors are people who hang on those things for their own ends to make themselves look good. And then if people don't agree with them, read it there, tells you, they attack them. How many of us, how many of you have been attacked on Twitter or Facebook or on YouTube because someone disagreed with your point of view? Because they thought their point of view was more worthy because it was a race issue, or it was a gender issue, or it was a left-wing leaning issue. How many of you have been attacked? I was attacked the other day. I was called an old white man for daring to critique Rosa. Not because, as I said, because it was about Rosa Parks, but because it's a god-awful, badly hack-handed, put-together episode. And I can list a dozen reasons why it's bad, without mentioning the fact that it's about Rosa Parks. Social justice warrior jumps all over me. Insanity issues. So I done a poll on Twitter. Let me just see, the poll will have ended now. The drum roll, please. Bear with me a second. This is the one thing about this, isn't it? So let me just see. 140 votes in 30 minutes, and 56% of the population said it. On the population of Twitter that followed me, let's do it that way. Population, big cat for your head. 56% of everyone who voted, that's just over 170 odd people, said that yes, Doctor Who is too woke. Or the Chibnall era is too woke. So they are seeing woke as this, and the people that said no are saying woke is this. Sorry, that one is this. So those are two very different things, aren't they? So is Doctor Who woke? I say it's not. I'll say that the things that are wrong with Doctor Who are because they try and deal with social justice, but they end up with social justice warriors. And that's the problem. That's the problem. There's a social justice warrior there. There's a better explanation of them. In the broadest sense, the social justice warrior is a person who uses complex, serious social, economical and political issues to further their own agenda by claiming they are fighting to correct a wrong. Specifically, it is used to refer to people claiming to fight for social justice but are actually validating their own ego, looking for special treatment or attention. Ironically, social justice warriors cause more harm to their cause than good, and they are often ill-informed, are uninterested in discussing issues, and they are more interested in being right. Does that remind you of anybody? So, that's my opinion. That's what I think. I think that Doctor Who is not woke in the way that they're talking about it. And they use those issues. And the people who fall for that, those are the people that I'm concerned about. James O'Brien is one of the talk show hosts on LBC. And he says, don't condemn the people who are duped, condemn the dupers. So everyone who's in right now in Doctor Who land has fallen for this. You know, you see them all over the place, the way the rainbow's up and they attack you at first opportunity for daring to criticise. It's not their fault. They've just fallen for this social justice warrior agenda. The way that Chibnall has jumped on every single agenda that's going about just now, whether it's racism or feminism, mental health, they've all been mentioned. But heaven forfend an older white man gets cancer, because then they don't want to know, because that's the 70s. That doesn't count. So that's what's going on. That's what I think. I think that there's been a kind of sea change, and I think it's unfair to attack Doctor Who as woke. I think being woke is important and it's necessary, and people should be. So let's have a look down the comments. I saw quite a few comments coming in. Just quickly, just so that you know, I don't moderate my comments at all, but I have a zero tolerance to any bullshit in them. So if I see bullshit of any description, I will immediately just block you from the channel. So if you want to be a dickhead all you like, but it'll last about 10 seconds, folks, just so you know, because zero tolerance with that kind of malarkey. Let's jump back down and see what's going on. So, there you are. 2 seconds till we just get rid of the tenant second channel. There he goes. Bye-bye. So I don't know who he was, but he's a bit of a plum, wasn't he? So he's gone. This stream is a cringe, says Freeze. That's absolutely fine. You can go as well. Cheerio. Bye-bye. So I'm not messing about today. Let's just have a wee look and see what's going on with everyone else. And by the way, I'm not going to just block people if you disagree with me. Disagree with me. Come on, disagree with me. But if you're just going to come on and you know, be a keyboard hard man, it's going to last seconds, my friend, seconds. So let's just have a wee look down and see what's going on, see if people are having a chat. I see the chat started long before I showed up, which is nice because I'm usually running at the Cousers. Let me just see if there's anything that I need to know. Nice to see Noel, David, Charlotte. Deegan, you're a new guy. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. Are you new? Sorry if you're not. I don't recognise your name there. Let's just see Anthony. Nice to see you, Anthony. Wolf Gamer, welcome. Hello, how are you? Original Doc, let's see. I think it depends on your definition of woke, but it's certainly too heavy-handed and forceful political message. Absolutely, mate. That's exactly what I was saying there. 100% agree with you on that. Let's see what else. You can tell the writers now have their own political points of view first, then remember they have to write a story. Well, they don't even bother writing stories now, do they, Charlotte? It's just not happening. There are no stories there. as far as I can see. Let me just see what else is going on in the chat there. Unforgivable thing about Rosa is the use of the term music. It's mortifying, isn't it? Murray Gold would have a unique storyline. Yeah, it's just lazy. I mean, they've done it in a couple of episodes, didn't they, where they just took stock music and played it over it, and it's an absolute beamer. Hi Daniel, how are you, my friend? Chris, just we get rid of that. I'm sure I don't know who it was. He'll no doubt turn up in another guise if he can be bothered. But there you are. Let me just have a wee look down and see if there's anything else that's getting said. Be quiet, you irrelevant bald man. Bye bye. And we just smile. That's how it works. We just smile and carry on. So I think that's everyone. I think I've made my point. Do you want to make your point? Half an hour or so. And any of the smart arses, any of the big mouths, any of the people that disagree with me, come on, disagree with me. Tell me why I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I want you to convince me. The difference, says Mark McIntosh, between the social issues covered in Classic Who is the first and foremost they told cracking stories. Mark, you're absolutely right, mate. That's exactly the difference. What's Nicky saying? Nicky boy cruel. Y'all are bald and ugly. Ha ha ha. I am going to dox your IP because you are filth. First, what I would do, I'm a bald gay man. Yeah, imagine that. The thing is, what I would do before I come on to any channel is probably learn to spell. But it's a shame, in the past, these guys would have been in a hospital, wouldn't they? And been looked after properly. But right now, they're just kind of left to get on with it in their mammy's basement, wanking into socks. Terrible. Anyway, come and talk to me. That's the address. Just click on the link, come into the studio, have a chat, tell me what you think. The rules are dead straightforward. If you're a dick, you get blocked. Give me your full name. If you can come on camera, please do. That's it, dead easy. But if you're a dick, go. Simple as that. I won't even entertain you. And we'll see who can come in and have a chat with me. I think we've got someone straight away, which is very nice. And it is my old chum, Noel from Tandison. Hi, Noel. How you doing, mate? All right, pal. I'm good, mate.
Just listening to your conversation, actually, very interesting, actually, when you put up the definition of social justice warrior and woke. Listen, I have to be honest, I do agree with most of the points that you've actually made. And it does actually make sense. But I will just say, while the show, well, we can all admit by the definition that you've used tonight that the show has been woke. Let's be honest, though, it's been done in a way that hasn't alienated the fandom. As you said yourself, agenda seems to come first before the actual story. Listen, you can do all these social justice causes. You can have companions. Another thing that was brought up today: more companions with disabilities. Right? I agree. Yeah, you can have all that, but the problem that I have is we've already seen. We have a companion now in the current era with a disability. Let's be honest. Has his dyspraxia been portrayed on the screen properly? No. I'll tell you why. My wife has dyspraxia, so I should know. And I've spoke to other people, even today, that have it, that have actually said the same thing. Their disappointment is they were actually delighted that Chibnall did it, but they were expecting more. And this is the problem that we have. Back then in the day, classic era, they gave both sides of an argument, as you know yourself as well. It wasn't just one-sided. And on some occasions, they actually let the audience come up with their own conclusions. We don't get that either anymore. But look, you've made some very interesting points, and it's made me really evaluate the word woke. Because, it's Problem I have is we can't say anything like this. You've already seen it yourself in the comments, right? You've spoke, you haven't said anything that I would consider toxic or nasty or anything, but you're already dealing with people that you've had to block because they don't. All of a sudden, you're a bigot. You're this, that, and the other. This is the problem I have with this current era. It's the fandom now. It doesn't matter. We keep talking about sides, but there's no sides here in the argument. You made that point, and you're right. There's different factions, all right, within the fandom, but each one is basically fighting for superiority, and it's being supported by. I won't mention names on your channel, but it is being supported by people higher up. I mean, BBC. Listen, this behaviour in the fandom especially could be knocked on the head if BBC or the people that are usually supporting these other accounts come out and actually say, no, this type of behaviour is wrong. And I think it's because, as you said yourself, these young people, and like myself though, and yourself, you've even admitted as well, we used to always fall into this trap. Doctor Who is woke, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what these kids are falling into. They they wanted. They keep saying, well, we've got to move with the times. I agree. The show should move with the times. Of course, it should. But when you alienate, and this is the problem, that you're alienating the fandom. You're just pandering to one side, and you're not even
Yeah.
giving a crap about the other side. I mean, talk radio spoke about it as well. It
Mm-hmm.
seems to be now, Eddie. It seems to be getting the traction that it deserves because, to be quite honest, there's another troll in the chat. Doesn't matter anyway.
He's gone, man. He's
This is
gone.
what I put up with because I'm just talking to you about this, right? I'm a bigot, I'm racist, I'm homophobic, I'm transphobic, you name it, isms, you name it, right? And it's not fair. We're entitled to our opinion just like you are entitled to your opinion. Listen, I don't care that people like this current era. I just don't. And I think I'm entitled to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look, as people have said, the show will come and go, showrunners come and go. One day the show might go back to a place where I can sit down and praise it. That's all I want
Mm-hmm.
to do. Listen, Eddie, we don't come on here. You know that. We don't come on here to hammer Doctor Who every time. We don't want to be hammering Doctor Who. We love the bloody show. We've been supporting the show for a very long time, including yourself. Like you've been there in the early days. Like you know what I mean? And you know what? It kind of gets me. And the other side of the fandom should actually realise that. You keep saying that the fandom is toxic, right? Well, then explain to me why it wasn't toxic before Jodie Whittaker showed up on the scene and Chris Chibnall showed up on the scene. Because it wasn't toxic before then. Before then, if people had disagreements with each other, yeah, there'd be heated debates. But by the end of it all, everybody would be still friends. Now you can't even have an opinion. Sorry, I went on a little bit, but thanks for having me on. Really
Not at all,
appreciate it.
man. I'm
I have to
glad you
say,
came on.
I'm glad you're doing these videos, these streams, and I hope you keep them up because these are important, Eddie. Because there is a lot of misinterpretation of certain words and certain causes, and I think it does need to be addressed. So I'm glad you're doing something like this because woke, when you put that definition up, and I know you should put both definitions up, but when you look at it, you are right. Doctor Who has always been those things, so Doctor Who has always been woke, but it's been
Mm-hmm.
done in a way, let's be honest, it's been done in a way that didn't alienate the fandom and brought the normies in as well. Let's be honest, now under this current regime, it's completely different.
I
There's
wonder
no
though, Noel, whether it's. I don't really think it's. I don't think it's really the agendas that are killing Doctor Who just now, other than, I mean, there's certainly something to do with it, but I think the main problem is that it's just terrible. It's just
Yeah.
bad. There's a few comments in the comment section there saying Doctor Who, the fandom was toxic before this. I tend to agree with that. Before Whittaker, I remember when Christopher Eccleston was the Doctor, I took absolute screaming poundings from Gallifrey Base. I'm banned for life from there. And every IP address.
Being a bit of a cesspit, let's be honest, though, because it was
Aye.
taken over by a bunch of lunatics. But listen, I'm not saying that the fandom wasn't. I think toxic's the wrong word to use, though, Eddie, for the fandom back then. I think that's too harsh of a word. I'm not saying that the fandom that fans weren't at each other's throat. And I do agree with you. Christopher Eccleston did cause a bit of ruptions when he was cast because people didn't like his costume. They thought it was too plain. There was actually even talk about him. Well, why are you getting him? He can't do comedy. There was all of this. So yeah, I do agree, but it never got to where it is now. The nastiness, the setting up of fake accounts just to harass people, troll people. That wasn't going on. Gallifrey base, I don't know because I've never been on it, and thanks be to God I never went on it, Eddie, because yourself and Bullsh are both, I think, banned from that place. It's. I heard it's just a cesspool, and I'm glad I never was there. But listen, I don't care if you like this show. I've said it. My problem has always been is when I go to comment, you go to comment, or anybody else goes to comment, someone has a problem with it. And then we get harassed for it. But then when we defend ourselves, then they twist it and we're the toxic ones. I was told something today, I'll tell you off air. I don't know if it's true, but if it is true, just goes to show what they're at. They're alerting certain people. I won't mention their name, Eddie, but they're alerting certain people with screenshots of the stuff that we're saying to them, but not actually showing the whole thing in context. And they're sending it to important people. I'll tell you later on. But let's just say myself and yourself have had a run-in with a couple of these people in the fandom the last couple of years. So, yeah, this is what they're up to. They want to discredit us. They want to make us look like the bad people. But what I've started to do now, as you've seen it, I'm just retweeting their tweets now, and I'm just going to expose them. Because at the end of the day, look at, as I said, like Jodie Whittaker all you want. I don't think she's a great actress. You might have a different opinion on that. That's fantastic. I don't like the current Doctor Who. Doesn't mean I don't love Doctor Who. I have all the box sets like everybody else, collect merchandise, the whole lot, right? I've been invested in this show for decades, right? Just like yourself, Eddie, right? So have I liked every single era of Doctor Who? No. I didn't. I have to be honest. I never really liked Sylvester McCoy's era. I certainly didn't like Colin Baker's era. You know, even David Tennant's third season at first. Now, the third season, I will say, has become an ultimate favourite of mine. But at the time, I remember when it was filmed, especially that two-part Daleks in Manhattan and the other one, I thought Chibnall's lost the plot. What's his name? RTD has lost the plot. I thought that at first it was the weakest season of his whole run. But then when I watch back, it actually isn't. It's pretty bloody amazing. I'd actually say season 3 is better than season 2. And season 2 is everybody's favorite. But if you actually watch season 3, there's so much going on in season 3. But listen, I haven't liked all of New Who. You know, Peter Capaldi, yeah, he's my favorite Doctor. But have I liked all the writing? No. Of course I haven't. But, you know, at the end of the day, we were entitled to those opinions and we were allowed those opinions. Now we're not. And I don't understand it. Why is their opinion, or why do they think their opinions are more valid than ours? Listen, your opinions are valid, just like our opinions are valid and their criticisms are valid. You know, you mightn't think that, and you have every right to respond. If you think that I'm wrong, you have every right. Well, I disagree with you now, blah blah blah. But as soon as you get into the insults and the slagging off, then you lose all credibility. You know what I mean? Look, I've been trying, and the thinking away is to try get this fandom to come together, because at the end of the day, we don't need this crap anymore. We don't. The show is in trouble whether they like it or not. That's the bottom line. It is, right? So what are we all going to do about as fans to get it back on track? That's what we should be all concentrating on. It doesn't matter what side of agenda you have, right? Doctor Who right now is in trouble, right? And we need to come together as fans, right? We need to hold the people responsible that have made it this way, okay? It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter whether you like Jodie or dislike Jodie, you like Chris Chibnall or you dislike Chris Chibnall. Right now, the ratings were the lowest that they were since the late 80s. And you've got to ask that question, why? And when the Jodie Whittaker fans actually can answer that question, then they'll know why Doctor Who is in trouble, and then maybe we'll do something about it. But the window of opportunity is getting smaller and smaller every time, guys. If you come out against and say the writing is bad, you're not coming out against Jodie Whittaker. You're not coming out against Jodie. I wish you would just come out and say, listen, because some of you have. have said that the writing is bad. More of you need to come out and say that. You need to hold Chris Chibnall accountable so Jodie Whittaker gets the best writing that she could possibly get, and then we can judge her. I've always said, I wish she had got great writing, because then we'd be able to judge her properly. We were robbed. I'm being honest. I'm going to say this out straight, and a lot of people be surprised that I say this. I was never for a female doctor, but when they cast Jodie Whittaker, I wasn't happy, right? But then, like everybody else, I calmed down a little bit and I said, I'll give the 4th season a go, right? Up until 2 weeks, I wasn't. And then everybody convinced me, you have to know. If you're going to criticize it, you have to watch, right? Or praise it, you have to watch. I said, right, fair enough. So I did. And I put myself through it, right? And the first thing that came to mind was, we've been robbed. We've been robbed. And Jodie Whittaker is being shortchanged as well. For the first female doctor, right, she was robbed because the writing hasn't been up to standard. Do we know if her acting is up to standard in this show? No, because obviously the writing is that terrible. But I will say this, right, the reason why I think she's not a great actress is because the simple fact is that Peter Capaldi also got shit scripts, right? He didn't get great scripts all of the time, and he was able to turn those not so great scripts into something magical. You know what I mean? It still kept us interested, even though the script was bad. It was because Peter Capaldi's level of acting kept us interested. Has she done that since she's been in 2 seasons? No. And that's the problem I have. So that's why I don't think she's good enough for it. I've already made this clear to you. We're going to go with female Dr. Olivia Colman, as I've mentioned, because she was mentioned anyway. But Jodie Comer, for me, that's in Killing Eve, she would be my number 1 choice now if I was to go for a female doctor. She would be. That show is absolutely incredible. She's an incredible actress. If you haven't seen Killing Eve, watch it. Watch our woman, Jodie. No wonder she's winning BAFTAs left, right, and centre. This woman is up and coming. This woman, I think, actually, she has a film coming out as well. I think she's already made it on the other side of the pond. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of this woman. She would have been my choice if you were going to go with a female doctor, but they went with Whittaker instead. So I don't know. I think she's not good enough. I think she's over her head, but I don't think the writing helps. It's not all her fault. It never has been all her fault, but she hasn't helped herself either. If you listen to her statements when she first took over the role, and then she did that stylist video, she didn't warm herself to the fandom, right? The normies, yeah, fair enough. They might have been okay with that. And obviously she got her own little fandom. They'd be okay with that. But what you seem to forget is, you know, someone said this to me, and it's true. It doesn't matter if the Doctor Who fans go away, no. It's the normies. And that's spot on. Because Doctor Who fans will come and go because there's certain areas they won't watch, and they'll go away for a few, and then they'll come back then when they're happy with an area. Sometimes that does happen. But the normies, right, the casual viewer, if you will, right, when they start turning off, that's when you have a problem. And that's what's happened, Eddie, with the Timeless Children. You're seeing it yourself, the lowest ratings since the late 80s. And according to everybody, even in the media, this was a success. I don't know how you judge losing 57% of your audience or whatever it was as a success, to be honest. If this is how we judge success now, well then I'm afraid we're gonna keep going downhill. Because
from her first episode, the Woman Who Fell to Earth, to the Timeless Children, she lost 6.67 million viewers.
Yeah. I'm like, explain, Eddie, though, Eddie, because you know this industry better than me. So you explain to me and the rest of the audience actually why you think that has happened. Because I think it is they've lost the interest of the casual fan. Right.
It's just, I mean, it's clearly that it's the issue, you know, of tonight's debate is whether it's too woke or not, and I would suggest that it's not too woke. The reason being is that Doctor Who has always had that kind of agenda, but I think the problem is that in the writing and the way it's portrayed. So Jodie is not. I mean, and I feel for her because in a lot of things that she's been in the past, she's been a good actress, but I think it's a wee bit like Captain Marvel. I think the difference between Brie Larson and Jodie Whittaker is that Brie Larson got a decent script in Captain Marvel. Because I watched that and I thought, what's everybody going mental about? It's a great film. You know,
I think
and this,
you know why people went mental about her though, and I'll short because I know you've got a point to make. But I think the reason why people went mental about that, and it didn't matter whether she was going to be good in the movie or not, because of all the statements that she made the months up to the opening of the movie, she'd already pissed everybody off and the casual fan. That's why. Listen, I haven't watched it and I won't watch it. I'm being honest. I won't watch Captain Marvel. I don't like the woman. The stuff that she's come out with, no white man is going to tell me what to do. Well, I'm sorry, love. You know, in some time in your life, some white man is going to tell you what to do, or some woman's going to tell you what to do, or whatever. That's just life. You know what I mean? Get over yourself. You know what I mean? We've all had to work hard for wherever we've got. The Brie Larson's the type of person that she expects everything to be handed to her. She did a YouTube channel. She got the plaque and all. We've worked hard on our YouTube channel. She just comes on. Right? Her first video over, what was it, 2 million views? Now she's down to 300-something thousand, and then she wonders why. Watch her videos. She says, if you don't like me video, well, keep your opinions to yourself. That's not how YouTube works, love. So it's that attitude. So she's already started before Captain Marvel 2 even comes out. And I'm telling you, she needs to listen, all she needs to do is change her rhetoric. All she needs to do is come out and be nice, right? And that's all Jodie Whittaker needed to do as well. Say the right things at the right time, and both of them wouldn't have the crap that they get on social media. Do they deserve it all? No, they don't. Certainly they don't. Anybody that personally attacks both those actresses deserves to be condemned. But if you're going to criticize their body of work, you have every right to do that. And this is the point I've been trying to make as well. People have a problem with me criticizing Jodie Whittaker because she's a woman, but then criticize me for criticizing her because she is a woman. Do you see how hypocritical that sounds? She has every right to be criticized just like every other person that played the role before her, right? And as I said, Jodie Whittaker was the first female doctor, so whether the Jodie Whittaker supporters like it or not, she was going to be even more scrutinized than all her predecessors beforehand. Has she passed? No, she's failed. Has Chris Chibnall passed? No, he has miserably failed. But he's the main culprit. Him and Piers Wenger, because Piers Wenger gave him the bloody job. But those two, in my opinion, are responsible for the mess that we're in now. Jodie Whittaker is right. I do feel sorry for her in slight terms, but has she helped herself? No. I just wish she had come out with something like, as I've always said, listen, I know some of you are worried, but I will give this my best shot. I would have been happy with that, Eddie. I would have been.
The thing is with that, Noel, though, you know, I don't disagree with much that you said there. I feel the difference between her and Brie Larson is that Brie ended up in the biggest selling movie of all time, you know, and also, you know, Captain Marvel is a good film. It's, you know, it's well represented. It's decently plotted. It's decently paced. It's a good, exciting MCU movie. You know, yeah. The problem with Jodie's stuff is that, but Chibnall's not. He's not those guys. He's not the MCU. He's not Feige. So there's no subtlety to what he's doing. So basically, what he says is, let's have a discussion about racism. Let's have a discussion about the partition of Pakistan. Yeah. Let's have a discussion about mental health and all those things. No one's going to say no to, because they are fantastic things to discuss and put a light on. However, he has absolutely no way of dealing with them in an artistic way. He doesn't do it with any kind of panache. On top of the fact that Jodie is a good actress who's miscast, if to be kind about it.
I'd agree with that.
And then she's also, what she also is, mate, is she's drowned out between, you know, because there's too big a cast. Yeah. You know, so the fact is that anything she could have been and all the space that she needs to grow is filled with all these other people. And then they tend to do it. There used to be a thing, they'll probably remember a way back when Tennant and Eccleston were the Doctor, that you would have the celebrity cameo of the year. So you would have, like, say, Simon Cowell as Dickens, and you would have, you know, oh God, I can't remember that girl's name that played Victoria. Do you know? And you would have the one big celebrity cameo of the year. Nowadays, it's put Julie Graham in this, put this guy in that, and there's too many celebrity cameos, and those guys take the focus away from Jodie. Now, if you take, I don't have big hopes for season 13, but I'm hoping that the less companions and more time spent on trying to get some kind of some kind of oomph behind her.
Yeah.
She may do something. I don't know. I think if John Barrowman comes in as semi-regular, he's clever enough to know how to do that. So
He might elevate
he'll
a
be a good.
performance, though.
Aye,
Listen,
he's a good foil for her.
Her best performance was when, at the end of Spyfall Part 1, is where Sasha's master reveals himself, and her face and the acting there. I said at the time when I was doing the panel, and I even said it, her acting there was spot on. For once, I actually believed her. I actually felt her pain. I actually felt, everything that was supposed to feel. But it's such a shame that we don't get that on a regular basis. Listen, I do. Chris Chibnall is, but listen, talking about the mental health side of it, right? Daniel brings up Praxis and the way that was handled, and we've got people on that support this era defending that. Well, look at Vincent and the Doctor in New Who. If we talk about mental health, that's how you do a mental health episode, and that's how you do it with respect and dignity. And then you throw up the number at the end, and then it makes people that episode. Listen, I'm a fully grown man. Every time I watch that, right at the end, I always break down. It is just such a wonder. Imagine being able, and this is what I love about it, right? Because there was a message there. It didn't matter what the Doctor did, even the fact that the Doctor brought him forward into the future to see that his artwork was going to be admired and remembered. It still wasn't enough for him to not kill himself. And I thought that was a very poignant moment, because Amy was feeling exactly what every fan was feeling, and then we see the plant, and then to Amy, or for Amy, or whatever it was, and I was like, the heart just, that's how you do mental health. Listen, I suffer from mental health myself for years. People know I've documented this on the channel. There was a time where I tried to end it all a few times, and I'd never do that again. Now, if anybody's worried, don't worry about a place where I'm fine. But I was going through deep dark depression. So to see this episode and to see it was the way it was portrayed, it absolutely made me 100% feel better about myself, and that that I wasn't alone. That there was other people out there struggling with these issues that I have, and that's when I seen that scene in Praxis. That was disgusting. I'm sorry, it was disgusting. And for BBC to come out with the statement that they did afterwards to kind of dismiss it all the backlash, it made me even more angry. I'm sorry, but my family has been touched by cancer, right? I know what it's like. I've seen people waste away in front of me. It's a fucking horrible disease, right? And when you've recovered from it, you're not totally away from it, Eddie, right? It's always there in the back of your mind that it might come back, right? So when I seen that scene and I seen her reaction to it, now obviously it was written that way. It's not her fault. But as any actress or actor worth their soul would have seen that line and say, I don't think so. You know what I mean? That's it was in poor taste. It was in poor taste. Rosa was disgusting for all many reasons. But what Rosa did, what Rosa Parks did, I will agree with you. What Rosa Parks did was amazing, right? A younger girl did it a couple of years beforehand, but because she had a criminal record, blah, 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 they didn't use her. But Rosa was the woman, right? It doesn't matter who it was. Rosa was the woman, right? She was an inspiration, right? She was absolutely a wonderful person, right? And then they do that bloody episode. And it was an absolute disrespectful. It was. Listen, I'm not African American. I don't know what it's like to be African American, right? And I'm not doing this to gain any points or anything. I genuinely thought this was disgusting portrayed. And then the pop song at the scene, the most important scene, where she's told to get off the bus. And poor Graham's face as well. That didn't sit well with me either. With Graham being the one, because of what's her name? His wife, Alice, is it? Grace? Alice?
Grace.
I keep calling her Alice for some weird reason. But great. But to be put in that position, I didn't like that either. I thought that was in bad taste as well. That was Chris Chibnall just to try prove a bloody point. Listen, to bring in a space racist, for what? For what? Even the storyline, the plot was ridiculous. You're going to do an episode on Rosa Parks, fine. right? But you do it with a bit of taste and a bit of class. Can you do Rosa Parks within a sci-fi within a sci-fi universe? Me personally, Eddie, I don't think so. You might disagree with that. That's fine.
You absolutely can. If you've watched the first half of Supergirl this year, they talked about racism and allegory, and they made a great job of it. Listen, mate, I'm going to let you go. I've got another person waiting to come on the line. Right, no, I really appreciate your
I know I went on a little bit there. I know someone in the chat, Eddie, chat. I'm sorry, guys. I really, but I do appreciate you having me on, Eddie. So thanks a lot.
No worries. You take care, man. I'll speak to you soon.
I'll be still listening anyway. Talk to you.
Cheers, man. Bye-bye. So sorry about that. So that was Noel's opinion. It kind of mirrors me a wee bit as well. It's not woke. Doctor Who isn't too woke. It can't. There's no such thing as too woke. We've maybe all been guilty of misinterpreting that word to a degree, but it is badly written and it does use agenda for the wrong reasons. We've got Amin and the queue. Let's see what Amin's got to say. Hello, my friend. What can I do for you? What have you got to say?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. I'd like to talk about Series 12. My opinions on Series 12.
What you got to say?
I'm not a fan of it. I do not like where Chibnall is taking the show. I think it's too political. It's not where Doctor Who used to be. It is disgusting, and I'm sick. We need Russell T Davies back, in my opinion.
Do you think he's likely to come back?
Probably not, but that's the only way the show can be saved.
Do you think it's only Russell that could save the show? Do you not think if they maybe get a brand new showrunner and a new actor or actress to play the Doctor, we could be up and running again?
I'm sure we could get a new actress or something to run the show, but I think that someone experienced who knows what they're doing is what we need.
So a fan of the show maybe that's already maybe somebody like Matt Gatiss or Toby Whithouse or someone like that could maybe do the job. Neil Cross.
Maybe, but they are bloody. I do not know what we're going to do, but maybe they can be. Maybe.
No worries. So thanks very much for your time there, mate. I'll move on to my next caller if you don't mind. Take care. Bye-bye. We've got Talkie on the line. How you doing, my friend?
All right, Eddie, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can, mate. Can you hear me okay?
Aye, fine, aye. Good.
What do you want to say today?
Well, I mean, it's, you don't want to turn this into an echo chamber, but I mean, I think Noel had a point there about the Rosa Parks story. I don't think that's Chris Chibnall's story to tell. I know the writer on it was of African origin, but I don't think that's his story to tell. And I wonder about Doctor Who as well. Now, every time there's a historical story, there always has to be an alien explanation to that. Why can't it just be about the dilemma of characters facing people who make certain decisions, such as back in the Hartnell era, when you had, I don't know all that well, but you had loads of stories of, Marco Polo, the Romans, the Aztecs. Were there aliens involved with them?
Absolutely not.
No. So it's about, don't be afraid to be a time travel show, and show what people do. You don't have to shoehorn aliens into that, because I felt that really disrespected Rosa Parks' story, personally. The other thing I'm finding frustrating about Doctor Who right now, and it is what you guys are talking about too, I think we're all pretty much on the same page here. And, cards on the table, yeah, I'm a white, balding guy in his late 40s, because I grew up with Doctor Who when it was at its height, probably. I think a lot of us can say that, and we're still with it through the ups and downs. Personally, for me, the worst it's ever been probably was Trial of a Time Lord. But what's really getting my goat right now is the quality of the writing. The quality of the writing for a science fiction television show. It's not science fiction what we're getting right now. Science fiction works because it's an allegory on the human condition. You don't have to thrust it in people's faces and have a character tell you that you're wrong because of this, which to me is what the Doctor has become. The Doctor's become a cipher for Chris Chibnall and what he feels about the world. Now, in terms of wokeness and so on, things like that, I like to think, yeah, I am actually in what I feel is the right term of the word woke. You are awake to other people's struggles. But it has been seized upon by both sides of this argument in a way that reflects on this toxic fandom thing we've got going on now. Now, as you know, Eddie, I love Doctor Who, but my main thing in life is Star Wars. And obviously, everyone probably remembers what happens when the prequels came out, when toxic fandom became what it is now. I don't think Doctor Who fans are going to get over this, because it's still the case with Star Wars fans. And it's not going to go away. And I've seen it in the chat as well here as well, with people who seem to be on the same page. You know, they're arguing pity points with each other when it's not about that. You know, right, we should all be standing up for the show that we love so much. And for me, it's not Jodie, because I think she's a great actress. A couple of years ago at the Edinburgh Film Festival, I saw her in a film called Adult Life Skills. And at the end of that, I thought, wow, she'd actually be really good as the Doctor. For me, it's all about the stories, the production, and the direction she's receiving, because I think she could be good. And to me, it all comes down to one thing: the wrong guy's running the show, and I think he's doing it for the wrong reasons, which is really sad. Now, just look, I've actually been taking some notes here because I have a very short memory span here. Because the writing, he doesn't seem like he actually likes science fiction. He's taking the genre and using it to push forward his views, which is fine, but you know, it's been done better in the past. As I've said to you before, my favourite scene or moment in all of Doctor Who is from Genesis of the Daleks. You want to talk about allegory? Hello, you know, Daleks couldn't be more relevant to the world right now with this rise of fascism we've got going on. Terry Nation was quite open about that. You know, he says it was all about growing up during the Blitz and the Daleks being Nazis. But I've lost my point. It all boils down to that one moment for me, where the Doctor is given this dilemma. He holds these two pieces of wire in his hands, and he says, "Have I the right to wipe out an intelligent species?" And Sarah says, "But they're the Daleks, the most evil creatures in the universe." And I think the end of Genesis of the Daleks is a bit of a cop-out as well, because of what happens. And it's a Dalek that does it. But what it did was it treated the Doctor like a character, you know, who is forced to make decisions, who's confronted with dilemmas. I don't see that in the writing for Jodie Whittaker's Doctor at all. She's totally a cipher. You know, she says everything she's going to do, which is poor writing. It's screenwriting, we call that bad exposition. She's never given any dilemmas as a character. You know, I thought Capaldi, who I loved, his last season was amazing, and I'm actually quite peeved at the fact that he left, because that moment is reflected with him in The Witch is Familiar, which are that two-parter, because he's confronted with the same decision when he finds out who that kid is. Spoilers if anybody hasn't seen it, but it's Davros. You know, that gave the character a moral dilemma that they had to get over. That's how children learn. Not by being yelled at or being told that they're wrong about things and this is the right way about the world. Children learn through other people's behaviour and other decisions that other people make. And they need to see that reflected in the characters. It doesn't matter what colour their skin is, or you know, whether they're male or female or whatever. It all comes down to the dilemma given to a character. And it's that quality of writing is just simply not there in Doctor Who right now.
Yep, I 100% agree with you, mate. I think that's more an interesting point that you make about dilemmas that the Doctor's got. If you look at the Timeless Children, she's given that dilemma and bottles out it. She makes no decision at all, and then when it comes to the revelation, she chooses to ignore it. So she starts that episode as she ends the episode as she started it, with absolutely no change in her character, and that's what annoys me more than all the cannon busting all the way through it. It was for naught.
Yeah, more cards on the table for me here. I teach filmmaking to young people. So I teach screenwriting too. And one of the core tenets of screenwriting is character arcs. And you've just said that. It's completely missing from that story for her as well. Yep. You know, a story is an emotional journey for a character. The reason why you tell a story is because you have a view, you want an idea you want to get across, and that lies in the subtext and the allegory that you create. You weave it in. You don't batter people over the head with it. And so to have your main character, you know, wind up the same at the end of a story as they were at the beginning is poor writing. I don't see those character arcs for any of those four characters in that top right now. Especially, I think, as Noel said earlier, talking about Toyson Cole's character having dyspraxia. Well, he's a bit wobbly on a bike. It never comes into it. that is virtue signaling. That's like, look, we've included this here just to keep you happy. Look what we're doing. It's like, well, no, if you're a good dramatist, you build that into the story and it affects how characters behave. You know, why haven't we seen maybe his character struggle with an action he has to do that could be a pivotal point in the story, and it could go either way, whilst dealing with his dyspraxia, and it's simply not there. There's
when
no
he does
character.
deal with it, whenever there is something like that happens, he tends to conquer his dyspraxia. You know, there has been times when he had to climb a ladder, or I think it was a fuse thing, wasn't there? And you know, and he manages to do it. You know, it would be far more real and far better if he was unable to do it, and you had to deal with the consequences of having that disability.
Or if he really had to struggle. I've taught some young people with dyspraxia before, and it's not like how they show it in the show. No. It really isn't. It affects their confidence in a profound way. They move in very specific ways. It's different with everybody. Obviously, they don't just get a bit wobbly on a ladder and have some lines by an actor to say, "Oops, here's my dyspraxia," because it's signposting, and it's not good writing at all.
Yep, no, I couldn't agree more with you. I think that's probably my biggest stark. It's easy to, and it's understandable when people get emotional knee-jerk reactions to things. You know, particularly the cancer thing was terribly handled. You know, and everyone gets, you know. But if you look at the reasons why people aren't watching it, 99% of people that watch Doctor Who don't give one monkeys about, you know, the timeless children or things like that. They don't care, but they're looking for something that engages them, that entertains them, that makes them want to sit and watch it from start to finish, and that's not happening. And the bad ratings would suggest that people, the reason Doctor Who has got the ratings it has got, even the terrible ones, is because at either side of it, there's something people want to watch. In the middle, Doctor Who sinks even further, and that's quite scary to think that there's about 2 million people out of a population of 60 million that want to watch it, when not that long ago, in 2013, how many people watched Dave the Doctor across the world?
Oh, God knows. I saw that in a cinema, for crying out loud, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at even America's dropped about 65% as well. There's less than 1 million people watch Doctor Who as it's broadcast in America.
It's crazy.
In the whole of America. It's extraordinary. Anyway, mate, I'm going to leave you if that's okay. I'm only on for an hour tonight. I'm going to do a quick. Really good to see you. Thanks very much for coming on, mate.
No worries. Cheers, Eddie.
You take care. All the best. Well, I was talking there, as I say, we're keeping this quite short tonight. I've got a couple of people that I'll not be able to get to tonight. I'm really sorry, but if I stay on this all night, the wife will kill me. So I'm sorry, Gorminator, and I'm sorry, Yinka. That's a new face as well. So hopefully you'll come on the next time and we can have a chat about whatever comes up in the next one. So thanks very much for everyone in the chat. You know, as we did have a few idiots come in tonight, which, you know, in fairness, no warn me might happen, but and also had a couple of people, including Jihadi John and the guy who was talking about Noel's wife, thought they were coming on to have a chat with me tonight. I would have expected just a mouthful of abuse, so they were just kicked immediately out of the studio. So that's all I've got for you tonight. I hope you like this style of Talk to Doctor. It is all about what you've got to say, you know. So we'll let you know the next time we're doing one. So until then, if you can like and subscribe and hit the bell and all that kind of stuff. And then you'll get notification the next time that we're coming up. We'll try and give you a wee bit of notice beforehand. So thanks again, everyone in the chat, everyone who came on to speak to us, and I also speak to you again very soon. So as ever, happy times and places, and may your God, whoever they are, go with you.